Imagine walking into a doctor's office feeling perfectly fine.
Right, like not a single symptom.
Yeah, totally healthy. But then you're handed this highly specialized treatment plan for a disease that you won't actually develop for another, I don't know, 7 years.
It sounds completely counterintuitive.
It really does. It goes against everything we basically know about medicine.
Yeah.
But looking at the sources we're unpacking today, it is rapidly becoming a literal medical reality.
Yeah, it is.
So welcome to the deep dive. Today we are pulling from a really dense AI daily news digest. This is from April 3, 2026.
Fresh off the wire.
Exactly. And our mission here isn't just to, rattle off the latest tech updates. We want to move past the buzzwords.
Because there are a lot of them.
So many. But we really want to understand the fundamental shift happening right now. We are watching AI evolve from this invisible background infrastructure into a hyper-personalized force. And it's reshaping 4 fundamental pillars of the human experience.
Right. So we're looking at health, transportation, art, and learning. And, the pace of that evolution can absolutely feel like science fiction sometimes.
Oh, 100%.
But the most compelling aspect of this digest, at least to me, isn't the theoretical future stuff. It's the highly practical application of these systems right now, today.
Yeah, the stuff that's actually working.
Exactly. I mean, for a long time, we've lived in this paradigm of mass production.
Yeah.
Society is basically built around standardization.
Because customizing the world for every single person was just mathematically impossible.
Right. And economically impossible. But what we're seeing in this text is the dissolution of that rigid world. The technology isn't asking humans to adapt to standardized systems anymore.
The systems are finally adapting to us.
Yes. They finally have the processing power to adapt to the individual.
Well, I want to start right there with the most intimate system of all, which is our own bodies.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So the first major story in the digest covers this massive breakthrough in predictive healthcare. Researchers have basically deployed an AI system that predicts the onset of diseases.
And it specifically highlights Alzheimer's in this report.
Right, Alzheimer's. And it predicts it years before any clinical symptoms even appear.
Which is wild.
It is. And it does this by cross-analyzing just an incredibly vast matrix of data. We're talking genetic, lifestyle, and environmental data.
All at once.
Yeah. So to conceptualize this, my first instinct is to think of it like a highly advanced weather forecast for your body.
Oh, interesting.
Like the system sees the genetic clouds gathering, right, and it warns you before the storm actually hits.
I mean, that captures the forecasting element really well.
Yeah.
But the weather analogy actually kind of breaks down when we look at the underlying mechanism.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Because of one crucial factor, which is agency.
Okay, agency.
Yeah, like you cannot change the weather. If a literal storm is coming, your only option is to, board up the windows and hide.
Right, you just have to brace for it.
Exactly. But human biology is incredibly dynamic. So a more accurate way to look at this AI is as a real-time epigenetic map.
Epigenetics. Remind us what that means in this context.
Sure. Epigenetics is basically the study of how your behaviors and your environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work.
So it's not just looking at a DNA swab and stamping an expiration date on your forehead?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's looking at how you actually live your life in real time.
That's fascinating.
That is the core breakthrough here. Because historically, discovering you had a genetic predisposition for Alzheimer's was just, it was just a terrifying piece of trivia.
Yeah, a ticking clock that you couldn't stop.
Right. There wasn't much to be done until memory loss began. And at that point, the physical damage to the brain was already severe.
So what makes this AI different?
What this AI is doing is mapping the triggers. So your genetics might represent the loaded gun, but your environment and lifestyle pull the trigger.
Wow, okay.
The AI is ingesting data points that human doctors simply cannot correlate at scale. It's looking at, say, the specific air quality index of your neighborhood over a decade.
Like down to the street level.
Down to the street level. And then it correlates that with the sleep architecture data from your smartwatch.
The deep sleep versus REM cycles and all that.
Exactly. And then it factors in your dietary habits, and it runs all of that against your specific genetic alleles.
So it's mapping the exact friction points between your DNA and your daily routine.
You nailed it.
So when it predicts the onset of a disease, it's actually giving you the precise variables you need to change to avoid it entirely.
Yes. It tells you, change your sleep schedule or alter your diet in this specific way to keep that specific genetic switch in the off position.
That completely flips the traditional medical paradigm.
Completely. I mean, medicine has been almost entirely reactive for centuries.
Right, you wait for the biological machine to break down.
Symptoms appear,
Yeah.
and then you try to mitigate the damage. But by catching these diseases in their nascent pre-symptomatic stages, treatments can actually be preventative rather than palliative.
It's truly bespoke medicine.
Yet the AI isn't referencing a generic health guideline for like an average person in their 40s. It is referencing a constantly updating map of your unique molecular and behavioral makeup.
Which is just incredible for our internal safety.
Absolutely.
But securing our physical health inside our bodies is really just step one, isn't it?
Right, because eventually you have to leave the house.
Exactly. Once we leave the doctor's office, we still have to physically move through a highly chaotic world. And if we're talking about systems adapting to us, that leads directly to the second area in the digest.
Autonomous urban transportation.
Yes. So we have leading legacy car manufacturers formally partnering with tech giants to enhance AI and self-driving vehicles.
And specifically focusing on navigating complex urban environments.
Right. Now, I understand why urban environments are the holy grail here. Like, predicting a toddler chasing a ball into the street is obviously light years harder than keeping a car between two painted lines on an empty highway.
Oh, absolutely. It's an entirely different league of computing.
But what I really want to know is the why behind these specific corporate partnerships.
It's a great question.
Because why are traditional, century-old heavy metal automakers suddenly partnering with data processing tech giants? I mean, why doesn't Silicon Valley just build the whole car from scratch?
I mean, that is the multi-billion-dollar question right there.
Mm.
And it basically comes down to the sheer physics of reality versus the processing of data.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
So, building a physical machine that can safely hurl humans through space at 60 miles an hour,
Yeah.
mass-producing it, managing global supply chains, passing crash test regulations.
It's not just writing code.
Exactly. That requires a century of heavy manufacturing expertise. Silicon Valley quickly realized that bending metal at scale is brutally difficult.
They learned that the hard way, I think.
They really did. But on the flip side, the legacy automakers realized that a modern autonomous vehicle isn't really a car anymore. It is essentially a supercomputer on wheels.
Right, so they need the edge computing.
They desperately need it. The cognitive leap required to navigate a city street is just staggering. I mean, a highway is basically a train track.
Yeah, everyone moves in the same direction. Speeds are relatively constant.
Exactly. But a city grid is pure entropy.
Total chaos.
You have double-parked delivery trucks, you have pedestrians looking at their phones and just stepping off curbs,
Erratic cyclists.
changing weather conditions, obscuring traffic lights, just endless variables. To navigate that, the AI relies on something called sensor fusion.
Okay, sensor fusion. That's combining all the different ways the car, sees the world, right?
Right, so it takes the LiDAR, which creates this flawless 3D geometric map of the space.
But LiDAR has limitations, doesn't it?
It does. LiDAR can't read the color of a stoplight or the text on a detour sign.
Oh.
So it fuses that LiDAR data with high-resolution optical cameras.
Which gives it the color and the text.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But then cameras fail in heavy fog or blinding sun.
Right, so what then?
So it uses both of those with radar, which easily penetrates bad weather.
Oh, wow, so it's triangulating all of this constantly.
The vehicle's AI has to ingest millions of data points from all three of these sensory systems every single second. It runs it through a neural network and categorizes objects instantly.
It has to decide in a fraction of a second if the object blowing across the road is a harmless plastic bag,
Or a highly dangerous chunk of concrete.
and then execute the mechanical braking procedure.
Yes. And it has to do all of that locally, right in the car's own computer.
It can't wait for a signal to bounce off a server tower 3 states away before deciding to hit the brakes.
No, that latency would be fatal.
So that perfectly explains the partnership. You need the legacy automakers to build the brakes, and the tech giants to build the localized brain that decides when to actually use them.
And the implications of successfully merging those two disciplines are profound.
Because of the safety aspect.
Exactly. We are looking at the eventual elimination of human error in urban transit.
Which is huge.
When vehicles can communicate with each other and the city grid at the speed of light, traffic accidents, which are currently one of the leading causes of mortality globally, could become statistical anomalies.
Not to mention what it does to our daily lives. I mean, the commute completely transforms.
Right. It goes from lost time to reclaimed time.
Yeah. It goes from an hour of high-stress, hyper-focused attention on the bumper of the car in front of you into just free time. You can read, you can prepare for your day, you can just exist in transit while the AI handles the chaos of the city.
Basically, you are surrendering physical control to an algorithm because the algorithm is mathematically vastly superior at managing the risk.
Which makes perfect logical sense.
It does.
But, that brings up a really fascinating philosophical tension.
Oh, where are we going with this?
Well, if we are willing to surrender physical control of a 2-ton vehicle because it's mathematically safer,
Uh,
what happens when we ask AI to take over something that isn't about safety or math at all?
uh.
What happens when we hand over the steering wheel of our creativity?
And now we enter the third domain of the digest, the music matrix.
The arts.
Yeah.
So the digest notes that AI is now deeply entrenched in the music industry. There are generative platforms capable of composing fully orchestrated original pieces.
From classical symphonies to highly produced pop tracks.
And doing it in a matter of minutes.
Seconds sometimes,
And naturally, this has sparked a massive debate.
to put it mildly.
Right. We have purists questioning the fundamental role of AI in art, while progressives are using it to shatter traditional artistic boundaries.
It's a very polarized space right now.
It is. And I keep thinking about historical precedents here. Like, when the synthesizer hit the mainstream in the 1970s,
Right, the early electronic days.
traditionalists claimed it wasn't real music because you were just, pushing a button instead of physically plucking a string or blowing into a reed.
Yes, the old "it's just a machine" argument.
Exactly. So are we facing the exact same technological panic, just scaled up? Like, are we gaining a new instrument, or are we fundamentally outsourcing the human soul?
I mean, the synthesizer analogy is incredibly apt. But the current debate is an order of magnitude more complex because of the autonomy of the tool.
What do you mean by autonomy?
With a synthesizer, the human is still choosing every single note. The machine changes the tone, but the human drives the melody.
Right.
With generative AI, the human is providing the prompt, the intent, and the machine is making thousands of micro decisions about composition, harmony, and arrangement all on its own.
Ah, okay. That is a big difference.
So if we look at the purest perspective mentioned in the text, their apprehension is rooted in a deep reverence for the human struggle.
The idea that the friction of learning an instrument is what actually creates the art.
Yes, the purist argues that music is a physical translation of human emotion. It requires years of practicing scales,
Building calluses on your fingers.
mastering music theory. The friction and the human limitation are what give the performance its vulnerability and its soul.
That makes a lot of sense.
So if a machine generates a sonata in 40 seconds without ever having experienced grief or joy or the sheer frustration of a broken guitar string,
Does it mean anything?
right? Purists question if the resulting audio file actually contains any intrinsic artistic value, regardless of how sonically pleasing it is.
I understand that resistance. I really do.
Yeah.
We value art largely because we respect the human effort it took to bring it into existence.
Exactly.
Like, a mountain peak is beautiful, but a painting of a mountain peak is beautiful because a human spent 100 hours trying to capture it.
That's a great way to look at it.
But the digest also highlights the progressive movement. And it specifically notes that AI is opening doors for aspiring musicians who lack formal training.
And this is where the underlying mechanism of the AI completely changes the landscape.
How so?
The progressives view this not as a replacement for human emotion, but as a translation layer.
A translation layer.
Yeah. Imagine someone who possesses a brilliant, highly complex melody in their head, a genuine spark of human creativity.
Yeah.
But they lack the physical dexterity or maybe the financial resources for years of conservatory lessons.
Or they just don't have the specific neurocognitive traits required to read complex sheet music.
Exactly. Historically, that brilliant melody simply dies in their head. The medium is locked behind a barrier of entry they cannot cross.
So it's just trapped.
It's trapped. But now the AI acts as an interpretive bridge.
Meaning the human still provides the creative intent.
Right. They can hum the melody into a microphone or define the emotional arc and tempo in text.
And the AI handles the technical execution of scoring it for a 60-piece orchestra.
Precisely. It is effectively decoupling the creative idea from the physical execution.
Wow.
So the progressive argument is that democratizing the tools of creation doesn't destroy art. It amplifies it by allowing millions of previously silenced voices to participate in the medium.
That is a staggering shift. I mean, it doesn't care if you don't know the difference between a major and a minor chord.
It really doesn't.
The AI adapts to your lack of formal training and helps you manifest your idea anyway. It's essentially acting as a bespoke interpreter for your imagination.
which serves as the perfect conceptual bridge to our fourth and final pillar today.
Oh, right. Education.
Think about it. If an AI can adapt to a musician's lack of physical or formal training to help them express a raw, creative idea.
What happens when it adapts to a student's lack of a specific cognitive framework to help them understand raw information?
Exactly. We move from the soul to the mind.
The bespoke tutor.
Yes.
According to the Digest, the education sector is heavily adopting AI-driven tools to hyper-personalize the learning experience in both schools and universities.
And this is happening globally.
Right. These systems assess a student's strengths and weaknesses in real time, offer tailored content, adapt to individual learning styles, and drastically improve retention.
It's a total overhaul of how we learn.
To frame this, I think about the traditional classroom model we all grew up with. It essentially functions like a one-size-fits-all t-shirt. The curriculum is designed for the quote-unquote average student in a room of 30 kids.
Right, the mythical average student.
Yeah. And if you process information faster than average, you just sit there bored.
Yep.
If you learn slower, or if you are a highly visual learner trapped in a purely lecture-based environment, the shirt just doesn't fit.
It's uncomfortable.
It bunches up, it restricts you, and eventually a lot of students just take it off and give up.
They tune out completely.
But this new AI model feels like a bespoke, tailored suit for your brain.
The tailored suit analogy is highly accurate, and it's accurate specifically because of the real-time diagnostic capabilities of the AI.
Real-time diagnostics.
Yeah. In that traditional standardized classroom model, the feedback loop is incredibly slow.
Oh, for sure. You take a test, you fail it, you get it back 3 days later.
Exactly. And the standard educational response at that point is often just to repeat the exact same lesson, perhaps a bit slower or with more emphasis.
Right, the classic just pay closer attention next time approach.
Which completely ignores the root cause of the failure.
Totally.
But an AI tutor operates on continuous, micro-level assessment. It doesn't just grade the final answer on the test.
It tracks how you got there.
It tracks the entire journey to the answer. It tracks latency.
Wait, latency? Like how long it takes to click?
Yes. If a student is interacting with a digital module on fractions, the AI notices that they hovered their cursor over 3 different wrong answers before guessing the right one.
Oh, wow. It sees the hesitation.
It notices if they breeze through spatial reasoning tasks but hit a cognitive roadblock the second the information is presented in dense text blocks.
It's like a poker player looking for the student's cognitive tells.
That is a brilliant way to phrase it.
Yeah.
The AI is constantly running A/B tests on the student's brain.
Constantly testing what works.
Right. And once it identifies that cognitive tell, once it realizes the student fundamentally struggles with abstract numbers but excels with visual geometry, it instantly pivots.
It changes the lesson right then and there.
It rewrites the math lesson on the fly. It swaps out the numerical equations for interactive 3D visual simulations.
So it doesn't just repeat the lesson louder.
No, it fundamentally changes the language of the lesson to match the student's unique neural architecture.
And the Digest explicitly states that the goal here is leveling the playing field for learners of all backgrounds.
Which is huge.
I mean, that is the ultimate promise of education, isn't it?
It is arguably the most impactful societal shift in this entire text.
Really? More than the predictive health stuff?
In a structural sense, yes. Historically, access to top-tier, individualized instruction, like a private tutor who sits with you, learns your quirks, and tailors the curriculum to your exact needs.
That's always been a luxury.
A luxury tightly dictated by socioeconomic status.
Yeah, only the wealthy could afford that kind of attention.
Exactly. But if this level of adaptive AI technology is integrated into public school systems at scale, that barrier begins to dissolve.
That is amazing.
A student's zip code or economic background no longer dictates the quality or the customization of their instruction.
Because the software scales infinitely.
Yes. Every single student gains access to a world-class tutor that possesses infinite patience and an intimate understanding of how their specific mind works.
It taps the educational environment entirely to the individual student, rather than forcing the student to bend to a rigid, standardized curriculum.
Exactly.
Okay, let's zoom out and look at the massive picture painted by these 4 distinct areas in the Digest.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. I mean, from the complex genetic code mapped inside your body to the millions of sensor data points navigating your commute.
To the generative models translating your musical ideas.
And the latency tracking of your cognitive learning style.
The definitive through through line here is hyper-personalization.
Yes, we are no longer living in a world where we just have to fit in. The technology is mapping our individual contours and molding the world around us.
The underlying trajectory is the total elimination of friction. Yeah, it removes the friction of late-stage disease, the friction of the urban commute, the friction of artistic execution, and the friction of standardized learning.
And to you, listening right now, I want you to genuinely reflect on this. Which of these four areas would you most eagerly invite into your own life tomorrow morning?
That's a tough choice.
It is. Would you want that epigenetic early warning system mapping out your health? Or, the reclaimed time and safety of an autonomous commute?
Or the ability to effortlessly bypass physical limitations to create art.
Or that bespoke tutor fundamentally understanding how your mind absorbs the world?
It is a profound set of choices.
Really profound.
And if we look objectively at the facts presented today, it leads us to a final lingering question.
What's that?
Well, we have learned that AI is actively analyzing your genetics to predict your biological future.
Right.
It is learning the complex variables of your physical movements through the city.
Yeah.
And it is intimately assessing your unique cognitive strengths and weaknesses to teach you. So if we simply project this current trajectory forward, we have to ask, how long until this technology actually understands you better than you understand yourself?
Oh, wow. A bespoke suit that knows exactly how you're going to grow before you even step into the fitting room.
Exactly.
That is a heavy, incredible thought to end on. But that is exactly why we do this. We hope we've helped clear the muddy waters of today's news cycle and given you something fascinating to chew on.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Stay curious, keep asking the hard questions, and keep exploring. We'll see you next time.